What it do, Kaizoku crew? It's your boy, Kaizoku Ice. Today's Monday, which is Labor Day in the US, so shout out to everyone that doesn't have work. I myself, I be working right now because I'm grinding out the YouTube, putting out the content, so low-key not a day off for me, but it's fine because I love what I do here on YouTube. And what I love doing here is talking about really cool and amazing cards, and I have one card, y'all, that was just... I actually have no idea why this card is so low, and this was an idea brought to me by BTSM. If you guys aren't familiar with them, they are an amazing EDM group, but more importantly, they're actually anime fans. They love all anime, but in particular, I know that they love One Piece. So we had a conversation a while ago. I'm not going to open up the DM, so I took a screenshot here, but basically they said, yo, you should make a video on pre-errata starter pack cards. And I'm like, yo, starter decks. We love starter decks. I think starter decks have done really well over time across a lot of different TCGs, right? So it had me thinking, okay, let's take a look at some of these starter deck cards and see how they can do. But more importantly, I try to find some precedents for these cards. So when I think of original first edition starter decks, I think of Yu-Gi-Oh, right? I think of growing up, going to Target and buying the Blue Eyes and the Dark Magician first edition decks, and I wish I had kept those cards as pristine as I should have, knowing what I know now, right? But of course, we were like children, and I was just using those cards to play, right? But these cards in Yu-Gi-Oh have done extremely well, as y'all can see just like right above my head here. In a PSA 10, a first edition Blue Eyes goes for $9,000 right now. But when you actually look at some of the One Piece cards, they're actually not priced accordingly as I think they should. I think that these cards should easily be a lot higher. So let's talk about some of those super pre-release cards. For those of y'all that aren't familiar with the starter decks that came out, we have these four. We have the Luffy, Kid, Crocodile, and Kaido, right? And I mentioned the word first edition because in one of my videos before, somebody got mad at me when I talked about first edition Romance Dawn cards when I was referencing the pre-errata cards. They basically told me, Kaizoku Ice, there's no such thing as first edition in the One Piece trading card game. What you're trying to say is just like stupid, basically, right? However, guys, if you check on the official One Piece card game website, as y'all can see here, if you read this text right here, exclusive leader card illustration and first edition, and I repeat, first edition gold stamp. So if we're going by the semantics of it all, there's only technically one first edition set in the entire One Piece trading card game, and it comes in the starter decks. And if you guys can also see here, it says first edition in the top left of the starter deck box, right? So I consider the pre-errata cards from Romance Dawn as first edition, but if you don't, because they don't have a first edition stamp, that is fine. Then you can consider all of these cards here as first edition, right? So because this is technically by the actual text here on the One Piece page, the only first edition cards in the One Piece trading card game, of course we have to take a look at these cards and we have to see, what they're priced at and if they can go up even higher. And after all my research that I'm going to share with you guys in this video, I think that these cards are disgustingly underpriced and they have potential to go up a lot more. So let's take a step back now and let's look at some of the Yu-Gi-Oh cards, right? Because I think that they serve as a good reference point for what I think that some of these cards in these starter decks can do. So we'll look at the Blue Eyes from starter deck Kaiba. In a PSA 10 is going for about $9,000, right? And even in some of the lower grades, PSA 9, $1,600, PSA 8, $840, right? So pretty high card right there, right? Then we look at the next most popular card, you could say probably in Yu-Gi-Oh history, which is the Dark Magician, $4,500 in a PSA 10. Obviously very expensive. We look at the Red Eyes, $861 in PSA 10, and then the Relinquish, only $300 in a PSA 10. So then I thought to myself, okay, what could be the Blue Eyes, what could be the Dark Magician of the One Piece trading card game? And in particular, what's gonna do the best in a PSA 10? So of course, the obvious answer for the Blue Eyes is going to be the Luffy. So let's take a look at the Luffy here on TCG Player. So actually, once again, if you guys want to use my TCG Player link for any of these cards, I will link this page right here below in my bio. So if you want to look at some of the starter decks or the cards themselves, use the link. It helps me out. I appreciate it. But let's look at the Luffy card right here. Raw, it is going for $164, so, not a bad price, especially if you're considering how high, we see the Blue Eyes is right here with $9,000 in the PSA 10. I think that $164, if we are projecting this card to do as well as a Blue Eyes in, 20 plus years, then not a bad buy at all. If you look at the yearly trend, actually, though, you can see that a lot of people are really looking into buying this card. A year ago, it was about like $101. It dipped all the way down to like $62, which is insane, considering that this is a first edition card. And now it's slowly going back up, and I don't think that this chart's right, because if you look at the view more data, you can see that there has been some sales in the past week for like $145. But right now, you can get it for about $164. So that's what we get for the Luffy, but I know you guys are probably more interested in the PSA 10 price. So let us go to eBay. Wait, no, I think I'm on the wrong one. Let me duplicate this tab and then go to Super Pre-Release Luffy Leader PSA 10. I'll also leave a link in the bio for my eBay affiliate link. Shameless plug. Anyway, so let's look at the English Luffy Leader. Okay, I think, honestly, guys, I've been looking at this card a lot, and I feel like this card actually doesn't go on sale that often, so it is kind of a hard find. If I keep scrolling down, yeah, there's a 9.5 here. Let's just open that one up. And yeah, that's like pretty much it. I just scrolled down the entire page, and I didn't see a single one besides those two and this PSA 9 here. So let's look at those prices right now. A PSA 10 for this Luffy Leader is going for about 450 euros, about $500 USD, which I think is honestly pretty undervalued, because if you compare that to my personal first edition, the pre-errata Luffy Leader, this card, as you guys know, this is kind of my claim to fame that I think a lot of you guys message me about on Instagram. This card jumped from $700 all the way up to over $2,000 in like a week, right? And this card right now, I mean, like in the lowest in the PSA 10, you're not finding it for like almost like $3,000, right? 34 watchers, clearly this is a very hot card. When you're comparing it to this one, if you don't consider that Romance Dawn pre-errata Luffy as the first edition, then this card right here is literally your first edition card. It's only going for $500. If you are going to compare it to the pre-errata Luffy that's now $2,000, I don't see why this card couldn't go insane. I don't see why it couldn't easily go up to $1,000, right? I mean, this is, right, you see the super pre-release gold stamp right here. That indicates first edition. Compare that to the Blue Eyes, right? $9,000 in PSA 10. Of course, guys, we are here. We believe in One Piece trading card game as a whole. We think that this has longevity because One Piece is the greatest show in the history of all shows, right? I don't think that this card should be only $500 as of today, as we go into September. And of course, guys, we have the live action coming up too. That's going to bring more people into the overall One Piece fandom. And consequentially, right, the trading card game, we have the One Piece remake that will hopefully onboard the masses, the people that don't want to watch old graphics, which I actually think old graphics look fantastic, but that's my opinion. But people that can't get over the barrier to entry of old graphics, or what people say is like horrible pacing, but I think the pre-time skip pacing is perfectly fine, but whatever. That will help people get into One Piece and into the One Piece trading card game. So, guys, if we're thinking about this, we are at in my opinion, we are right in the calm before the storm. We have so much opportunity with a lot of these cards, and the card that I think people are going to want, right? This is the Blue Eyes White Dragon first edition. This is as obvious as a play as I could even see in the entire trading card game. My most obvious play was probably the Luffy pre-errata Leader. My second most obvious play is probably this one, right? So this is an amazing card. Personally, I would try to get this card in a PSA 10. I don't really care for it raw. I think another opportunity that you guys could get is probably the actual starter deck itself. Let me go back to that tab over here. So the starter deck itself is going for about $330 for the past year. You can see it did dip a little bit, but now it's starting to spike back up. More recent sales, yeah, it's sold for $330 recently, $360 about a week ago. So yeah, guys, people are looking to buy this set and these cards because it does say first edition in the top left. This is our first edition One Piece, guys. And I know I focus mainly on the Luffy, but guys, I also have another thesis I want to share with you guys because, as I mentioned earlier, guys, we have a Blue Eyes, a Dark Magician, a Red Eyes, and a Relinquish. Those are some of the most popular cards for some of the old school collectors of Yu-Gi-Oh! And I thought to myself, right, we have a similar 4 cards here for the starter decks. We have Luffy, Kaido, Kid, and Crocodile. So I thought to myself, what would be the Dark Magician? What would be the Red Eyes? What would be the Relinquish of the One Piece trading card game? So I actually made an Excel sheet that you guys know I love making, but I also leveraged the data from the One Piece popularity polls, and the most recent global popularity poll, which was about 4 or 5 years ago, I think. Obviously Luffy is number 1, but when you look at it, if you look down below, this is probably guys, you guys can't see this, but number 17 is Crocodile. We've got Kid as 23, and Kaido is like nowhere to be found. He's 65, right? So nobody likes Kaido. So I actually basically projected what I personally thought was going to be the Blue Eyes, Dark Magician, Red Eyes, and Relinquish of the One Piece trading card game. It's a no-brainer that the Luffy is the Blue Eyes. I mean, Luffy is the most iconic character. I'd either say Dark Magician or Blue Eyes are the most iconic characters in Yu-Gi-Oh! But the one that does well, or the one that does the most well, most expensive, is the Blue Eyes White Dragon. It's $9,000. That is an 18x ratio between the Luffy and the Blue Eyes. I don't know if that Luffy will ever reach $9,000. Maybe in 20 years, it has the potential for it. But, you know, at the bare minimum, $500 for the Luffy card right now, I see no reason why this card shouldn't be $1,000 in the near future. Next, for the Dark Magician, I personally think it should be Crocodile and not Kid. Number 1, Kid is basically, seems to be eradicated right now. I mean, like, nobody knows what he's going to be doing in the future, but Crocodile still has a lot of potential. He is still in the main series. He is a part of Cross Guild, and there's going to be conversations around him as we head into the end of One Piece. So, in my personal opinion, I actually think Crocodile is the Dark Magician of One Piece, right? Card-wise, at least. And when you look at it, the Crocodile in a PSA 10, I don't have it up on eBay, but if you just do a quick search, it's only $100 right now, right? And if you compare that to the Dark Magician, which has a PSA 10 price of $4,500, that is a 45x. And once again, similar to the Luffy, I'm not saying that this Crocodile is ever going to reach $4,500, but I have spent $100 on I spent $100 on a lot worse things in the One Piece trading card game, and I do think that this Crocodile also should be priced a lot higher. I'm thinking at least $200, $300, $400, $500, because I mean, he is, as you guys can see in the popularity poll, right? He is number 17. Now, if it was Trafalgar Law, if he had a leader himself, I think that card should easily also be like $500, but we don't have a Law. We only have a Crocodile, Kid, and a Kaido. And out of those 3, I think that Crocodile is the most popular and the most relevant right now in the story. He is still literally a part of the story, while the other 2 are more or less done, right? So, you know, potential-wise, I think that Crocodile actually has the most potential out of all of them. Obviously, guys, you have to get your Luffy because Luffy is the main character, but $500 is a lot for a lot of people, right? And if you're comparing that to the Blue Eyes, it's only an 18x, so, you know, take that all with a grain of salt. Also, once again, haven't said it in a while, but not financial advice. I know a lot of y'all in the comments joke around like, you say you're not my financial advisor, but you are my financial advisor. I am not. I'm just a dude in a Trafalgar Law hat, and that is it. So, not financial advice. Do your own research. Listen to me. Don't listen to me. Make your own decisions. Anyways, moving right along, we've got the Kid, and the PSA 10 is $110. I compare that to the Red Eyes because Kid, once again, is not as popular, in my opinion, as Crocodile. It's only about a 8x compared to the Red Eyes, so, you know, there's still a lot of potential for the Kid. And in general, I think it's probably cool if you got the entire leader set first edition, so the Luffy, Crocodile, Kid, and the Kaido. But obviously that does add up monetary-wise, so, you know, buy what you can, you know, don't go overboard. And then lastly, the Kaido was like $115-ish in the PSA 10. Compare that to the Relinquish, which was only at $300 in the PSA 10 first edition, only a 2.6x. So, based off of this chart that I personally made, I think that the best cards to buy are the Luffy and the Crocodile, and then the Kid. And then honestly, I'm not even touching Kaido because, like, I just don't care for Kaido. So, those 3 cards are honestly fantastic buys in my opinion. And then if you actually look here, you can actually get that Crocodile starter deck, right? It is only $65 right now, and I think that the Crocodile card looks fantastic. The year trend, it is on a downward trend, but we're not buying it for the actual deck. We're buying it for the simple fact that it's the first edition of the One Piece trading card game, and it's Crocodile. You guys know my Crocodile theory. I think Crocodile is going to do extremely well because we're going to get introduced to him in the live action. So whether it's this card or the alternate art leader from Romance Dawn, I think all Crocodile cards are going to do extremely well in the near future. Actually, I kind of want to show y'all what that card... Actually, no, I already showed y'all what that card looks like. Let me just go back here. It is here somewhere. Yeah, this is what the alternate art leader Crocodile looks like in the starter deck. It looks pretty cool in my opinion, guys. He's got his rings on his hand. You can't see his hook right here, and I think the hook is like the coolest part. But he looks so menacing here, and he's just such like he's one of my favorite villains, and I personally just like, I think Crocodile is so cool, guys. So $19, right, for the alternate art leader, first edition. Guys, first edition Crocodile for $19. Come on, I mean, let's look at the yearly trend here real quick. It did go on a dip, but as y'all can see, there are some buyouts right here, and I think it's going to slowly start going upwards again here. So $19, once again, you should get this card, guys. $20, just like skip out dinner like one night out of the week, right? You can get this card. I don't think there's too much else here that I wanted to say, actually. There are some other cool cards here. Like, I love this Law. It isn't, one of the, it's not a leader card, but it has really great Law artwork. It is a super rare, and I think I actually just bought this card myself because it just looks fantastic. So I don't think there's any other cool cards. The Nami isn't, I mean, yeah, it's like a $4 card, but there's no hollow foiling on this card. All we have is a first edition stamp, so maybe that also could be a good buy, but I personally, I'm not really buying it. The Luffy super rare is also really cool. I love this art, and it's also a super rare, so not a bad card. Also only $5, so not bad at all. And then honestly, I think that's pretty much it. I think those are the only ones that kind of like piqued my interest there. Oh, also, I did see this Reddit thread because somebody asked how many super pre-release decks are out there. Because once again, we're comparing to the Blue Eyes and stuff, but we have to remember, these cards came out in 2002 when we were all children, right? And as children, we're not looking to keep these cards in pristine condition. And we also, I know that Konami probably mass-produced a lot of these cards. So knowing all of that, though, it is, I think, a good thing to keep in mind is how many of these things have been actually produced, and then we can kind of extrapolate and project how much the One Piece cards will be compared to how much have been produced, right? So this person said that on the TCG Plus platform, there's about 2,100 events, 1,000 stores around the world with 2 events per store, and they basically said around 17,000 decks of each color. Same for the promo card given out, and only 2,100 winner promos, right? So if we actually click the link here, oh gosh, there's usually like a button here that lets you see how many PSA 10s there are. But I believe for this super pre-release Luffy, there's only, I think, less than 600 or maybe 500 of this Luffy in a PSA 10, right? So maybe it's not exactly 17,000. This is obviously just estimation of how many are out there. But as you can see, this was made 3 years ago, and 3 years later, we only have 500 of this card in a PSA 10. Maybe it's a lot lower than we think. And if it's a lot lower than we think, then this card honestly should go up even higher because this makes this card extremely scarce. It is the first edition card. I could talk on and on about this, but basically, guys, get this card. This is an amazing card, and this kind of symbolizes the start of the pirate era of the trading card game. I think it's an absolute no-brainer, and I personally, I am saying it right now, I will be doing my best to buy this card, and also the Crocodile, and also that Law, because I think Law is really cool. These cards have a lot of potential being the first edition of the One Piece trading card game. Obviously, my favorite bet is the pre-errata Luffy, but this is like literally number 2 right here. And actually, last comment, actually, if you actually look at the, this is the starter deck Kaiba. It's going for about like $5,000 right now. So honestly, a good buy could really be getting the starter deck itself, but you guys know me, I don't really like holding sealed product. I'd rather just get, you know, the actual card itself. So the starter deck could be a good buy though, because as you guys can see, it's like $5,000. But another thing I wanted to show y'all, I forgot what tab it was on. Let me just go through all of these here. Maybe I don't have the tab. Okay, if I think about it, I'll probably post it in the comments down below. But anyways, guys, get your super pre-release Luffy. This is an amazing card. I think that, you know, in the over the test of time, even in just like the near future, like in the next couple of months, this card is gonna double in price. I mean, it just makes sense. It's a no-brainer. Once again, guys, shout out to Black Tiger Sex Machine. They are awesome, they're amazing, and they make great music, and they're just really nice people. Let me go back to the, yeah, like, guys, this is so cool. Let's just like appreciate some of the pictures here real quick. Like, guys, like, that's amazing, right? Like, that's just cool, guys. They also do some other great cosplays too, so if you guys aren't already following them, please follow them. They are great people, and they just have like really cool cosplays in addition to their amazing music. Like, if you don't, you know, like, if you guys aren't EDM fans, just like follow them, because they are just like cool anime dudes. But also, if you are EDM fans or just fans of music in general, please follow them because they make great music also. Anyways, guys, that's it for this video. I hope y'all enjoyed. I hope y'all really were like following my thesis here, and I think it's actually a lot of people's kind of same thesis, right? We're looking for the first of the trading card game, whether it's, you know, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, One Piece. Having the first of anything is always going to do extremely well, and this is the first edition of the One Piece trading card game. I mean, it's a no-brainer in my eyes. So that's it for today's video. I hope y'all really enjoyed. I am Kaizoku Ice. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, use all of the links, etc. I don't care. I'm done. I'm about to get some rest. I have another fantasy football draft in like an hour. So I'll catch y'all. Stay blessed. Have an enjoyable Monday, and I'll catch y'all in the next video.